Welcome back to another episode of The Pit. Aaron Mukes alongside Drew Pavon and Joseph Doring. Guys, a lot to get to today. NFL free agency, one of my favorite times of the year. Hopefully the Falcons can make some moves. But first, we have to talk about GHSA high school basketball. I know you guys were running around the state with a lot of teams in action. First reactions to some of the games we saw over the weekend.
Drew, you want to take the lead on that one?
Yeah, no doubt. Crazy for us. I mean, we had a lot of number one seeds fall out. Chatco was really doing their thing. They only had one loss the entire season in 1A Division II, and they fell over the weekend. But the Hardaway girls, they're our 2A team. They're our lone team left in the state tournament going on right now. They just got one game left, and it's going to be on Saturday. They're looking to go back-to-back. Kelly Ellison's done a great job with the Hawks so far. They're a really tall team. They got three girls that are at least 6 foot. They got size. They went to overtime in a thriller where they should have closed it out, missed a couple free throws, but now they're moving on, trying to get to that back-to-back. Rihanna Boynton, they're a very young team. She's a stud, getting recruited by Tennessee. A lot of the big powerhouses in women's basketball. She's going to be a name you got to keep your eye out on. Hawks, very exciting. They're playing Murray County, obviously, down in Macon Coliseum Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're excited. I'll be down there, and hopefully the Hawks will bring back a state title to Columbus, Georgia.
Drew, I wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask Drew quickly about the Hardaway girls, because this is a team that's familiar with state championships, right? They won it last year. This is going to be their third straight appearance.
Third straight Final Four appearance. They won last year. I mean, the team they had last year was electric. Michaela Johnson, who's now plays in New Orleans for Division I basketball. She was amazing from outside the arc. Rihanna Boynton really came onto the scene, and they just have a pedigree of winning with that Hardaway program. And Kelly Ellison, who's the head coach now, brought in her sister Kim to be the assistant coach, and then has her mom on the bench with her as another assistant coach. So real family atmosphere over there with the Hawks, and they're doing their thing right now. Rihanna Boynton, who had a serious knee injury over the summer, didn't come back till halfway through the year. And it was looking like, all right, where does this Hawks team lie? And then once Rihanna Boynton got back into the lineup full time, they really just took over, and it showed now because they're going back to the state championship.
That experience obviously means a lot. Joseph, I guess you can take the crown of most teams being awarded the opportunity to win a state title. You have a number of squads that are going to be competing this week. Talk a little bit about some of the games over the weekend and then how these teams got there.
Yeah, we've got 4 teams playing for state titles, but mathematically only 3 at maximum can come back to the CSRA over here in Augusta with state championship trophies. I've actually been boots on the ground in South Carolina more primarily in the last 2 weeks for Final Fours up in Florence and then Columbia State Championships this past weekend. But Alyssa Lyons, my sports director, will be in Macon this week. We've got 3 games starting on Wednesday night. When we get an area versus area championship, we are guaranteed a winner in that game. The 3A boys game at 7:30 Wednesday night between Cross Creek and Harlem. We actually have a battle of cousins in that game. Derek Shine on Cross Creek, Ty Shine for Harlem will go up against each other in the state championship in each of their last years of high school. So that's a pretty cool storyline. And then Thursday night, we have Washington Wilkes girls team playing against Wilcox County for the second straight year in the A Division II state championship game at 1 o'clock Thursday from Macon. So the Tigers didn't get it done last year against Wilcox County, got the chance again to do it this year and get a little bit of revenge and take home a trophy. And then Saturday, we have our final game at 1 o'clock when it is the Butler Bulldogs boys team taking on, I believe it is Morgan County in the Class 2A championship. Butler won the title last year in 2A, looking to repeat as state champions Saturday in Macon. I know for sure Alyssa will be there for that one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of fun games. I've watched a lot of basketball over the last few days and saw some special performances. One of them was against us up in Douglasville. A girl dropped 46 on number 1 seed Monroe in 3A for the girls. And I was telling people she looked like prime 06 Kobe. So getting to see some of the performances is really special. We have 2 squads headed. You mentioned Wilcox County. They're going to look back for back-to-back for the girls' side, and they will take on that Washington Wilkes team. I had an opportunity to check out Washington Wilkes a little bit following that game, and these girls, you can tell they've grown over the past year. I saw they took a little bit of what Wilcox did to them last year, getting out on the break early, and Washington Wilkes used that to their advantage this year. So I expect them to come back a little bit more experienced and maybe a little bit of a tougher game, because last year's game, the Lady Patriots just rolled them. I mean, I believe it was like 70-something to 40. Never really any competition. Close. But I think the main thing for Wilcox County girls is Tylea Benjamin has taken another step. The big 6-footer in the middle, she dominated against Bowden in the semifinal. She was a 20-point double-double. She was coming off the flu, so you could call it her Jordan flu game, I guess. But she was really, really special. And then their guard play is really just unique. And they have 3 sisters on the team, so it's kind of a family affair. So really cool opportunity for them to go try to get back-to-back. And then we have the Clinch County boys, who that game against Chatco was intense. It was physical. I do have to preface this by saying I forget his name, Champ, I think that's what they call him. Their best player, he got in a little foul trouble early. That really helped Clinch kind of get things going. But out of the break, I just thought Clinch played with a lot of energy. They're very young as well. They have a sophomore in Travian Miller, who's also the quarterback, who broke records this year. And then Kamarion Johnson, who's, again, a football player that played basketball. So a lot of that Clinch team is a bunch of football stars who just have enough athletic ability to play on the basketball court. And you're really starting to see them come into their own. So that's going to be an exciting matchup for Clinch this week as well. And they both will play on Thursday at 1 and 3 p.m. So we only have to be there for one day. So safe trip for me, not to have to worry about making a trip more than one day. It's going to be a lot of fun. I do want to get some predictions from you guys. I'll start with you first, Drew. Hardaway girls, the favorite. Should they take the championship?
I mean, they've shocked me. I gotta be honest, just how far they've made it, because they were seated a little bit lower, and watching them just develop throughout the year, their size has really played into it. I think maybe just because how young they were, I wasn't sure their experience from last year. They lost 2 of their starting seniors that really were the key points of emphasis, and their star player Boynton being out for a majority of the year. But they've just hit the ground running, and winning that game last week against Josie in overtime. You miss all those free throws, and Josie just keeps staying in this game, and you're relying on your star to keep making the play. I think when they step onto the floor Saturday, these girls have been in that spot. Rihanna Boynton's been in that spot. Kelly Ellison knows what it takes to win at the Coliseum. I could see Hardaway walking out with the win. It's going to be a close game. Always want those state championship games to be fun, but give me Hardaway by 6.
Oh, gave us the total too. Okay, I like it. Yeah, free throws a big difference. I saw that game in the Fitzgerald-Rabun County game. Fitzgerald missed like 14 free throws, and it ended up costing them. So if you can shoot free throws, it really matters. Joseph, what about you? You guys got a number of squads. Of course, one's not going to be able to have 2 champions. How many do you think come away with it?
Between 2 kids.
I know, right? Harlem is actually...
No, I have 3 kids, and it's easy to pick.
First time. Harlem is in the state championship for the first time since 1969. I don't even remember the last time they made the Final Four to even get to this state final game. So they're 0-3 this year against Cross Creek. Obviously, they both play in 3A Region 4 back here at home. So Cross Creek has dominated them all 3 meetings this year. I have a really good relationship with Harlem's head coach, Jeffrey Williams, but I just don't know how they can climb the mountain and take down Cross Creek when it's already gone 0-3, not in their favor throughout the rest of this season. So give me the Razorbacks Wednesday night. I'll say by about 10 points. They have been wide margins in those state championship games. Washington Wilkes girls, obviously I'm pulling for them, but Aaron, I know what they did last year against Wilcox County and what Wilcox County did to them, so wouldn't be too surprised to see that result happen again, but we're still pulling for the Tigers over in this part of the state. And then Saturday, I'm taking the Butler Bulldogs to repeat as 2A state champions.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be a closer game. You talked about that Wilcox County game, but Wilcox did bring back everybody on their roster except for one senior, and the younger players got better. I do have Wilcox County in that game, but I do think it's a little bit closer than last year's game. They just seem to roll through everybody in the playoffs, though, so you never know. And then Clinch, I think this is a great opportunity for Clinch to go ahead and grab a title. They're going to have a tough matchup. I don't know what to expect from them, but I know they're going to fight. I expect a very, very close game. Of course, I'm rocking with Roll Red Roll. and the Clinch County Panthers. But I do think that one's going to be a little bit tougher to come away with. But nonetheless, we're going to have a lot of fun this week up in Macon. I know I'll be there. Drew, I'm sure I'll see you. And if we don't see you, Joseph, we'll hang out with Alyssa. All right, we got more to come on the way. We're going to turn our attention to the college ranks SEC championship on the line. And we're going to discuss Georgia and some of the teams that are going to be in action this week when we come back. Welcome back into the pit, guys. Big week on the college hardwood. Championship week in the SEC. A number of schools going to be in action trying to bring home the conference title. Starts on Wednesday. We have 4 games on Wednesday. I just want to get your guys' thoughts on maybe some of the landscape and how this is going to play out. We're going to get to the Georgia side of it. But if you guys were to look right now at the way the tournament is set up, who do you think in the SEC has kind of the advantage with maybe the path to that title? And I'll start with you, Joseph.
Florida Gators. I don't understand how you could even say anyone else other than them right now in the SEC. They're the defending champions. They're coming in off the biggest hot streak, just like they were last year, into the SEC tournament, and will have the 1 seed in Nashville this coming week. And they're also set up pretty favorably to win it once again and get into the March Madness tournament as a number 1 seed. So I don't see how you can pick anyone else other than Florida to make the deepest run of any SEC team on paper right now. But in terms of other squads we could see go a little bit farther into the tournament, I would say Arkansas with Coach Cal. They could get it. They've had a couple slip-ups, but we know how big of a gauntlet the SEC schedule can be throughout the year, not even just in basketball, football, and every other sport. So I would expect Arkansas to be able to make a deep run. Alabama could make a deep run. I know we're going to get to talk about Georgia here in a second, but couple squads out there, maybe not nearly as many as last year's or NCAA tournament rather, but I would definitely be able to see a couple SEC teams maybe making it to the Elite Eight.
Drew, what about you? I'm gonna be honest with you. I really like the Arkansas, just the experience of that staff, and I think that's one of my sleeper picks. I think that's a team that could go on a little bit of run, win a couple of games, and maybe you look up this weekend and they're in the championship game. So I actually like the Arkansas argument. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, no doubt. I think Arkansas, just with how the pace of play they have, and I know Darius Acuff Jr., who freshman, who's been phenomenal for Coach Cal's team this year. He was out over the weekend against Mizzou, and I think if he's fully back healthy later on this week, they just run with such a great pace. They do not play with a lot of depth. They play with like 7 or 8 guys. So, some guys get into foul trouble, like that Bama-Arkansas game that went into like double overtime, and that was just a boat race down the stretch. I think that's a rematch a lot of people are looking for. But I like Arkansas. I think if, it's March, man. Like anybody can get hot and anybody can roll. But Joe said it. I mean, give me the Gators, number 1 team. Like, they've only really lost to Auburn, and that was the most shocking loss they've had in SEC play. And I just think they're going to roll in there, and Golden's going to do his thing, and nobody's going to really be able to square off against them just because of the size and that commitment and the experience they have just really rolls with them. Arkansas is another team I mentioned with Acuff. I think he's a stud. Alabama, you never really know. LeBaron Philon, just with how Nate Oates' offense runs, they shoot a lot of threes, but when they're hot, and it's tough to stop that team when they're rolling.
When you think about Georgia in this mix and the kind of up and down season that they've had, sometimes they look really, really good, other times they look really, really bad. Do we think that not only can they make a run in this tournament, but what about March? What about March Madness when they get into the big tournament? I mentioned to you guys during the break about like big power schools that have won football titles that are now also relevant in basketball, specifically in the SEC, have all had deep runs in March, and Georgia is still kind of looking for that first win in March, especially in the big tournament. How far can this Georgia team go? Can they win a tournament game this year? What do we have our eyes on with the Bulldogs as we go down the stretch? I'll start with you, Drew.
Yeah, I'm curious how they go in Nashville. I mean, they get that 7 seed, they get that bye, and then Texas is a good team, or they'll have to play Ole Miss. I think they could definitely play on Friday. I think they have a lot of talent. I think what Mike White's been able to do over the past few years, they're slowly developing as a program, and they're deep, and they dunk the ball a lot, and they beat Alabama last week, which was a huge win, and Stegman, and that place was jumping up in Athens. So I think Georgia, they set a program record for regular season wins at 22. I think the overall record's at 24 that they're still trying to reach. Obviously, they'll have to win one this week and then hopefully win a couple more when it comes down to the madness bracket. But I think this is a team that could get to the round of 32, getting to that Sweet 16. It really depends on the seeding of March. But I like what they've been able to do because, like you mentioned, these powerhouses, with long history in football, have had so much success in basketball. Alabama, Florida, Auburn, they've really been moving on their way up. But now Georgia's just slowly starting to build because past couple of years it wasn't like that. But now they're making the tournament, they're getting into relevant conversations, and they're winning some big games.
I'd like to see him win a tournament game. Joseph, your quick thoughts on Georgia, and can they win a game in March Madness in the big tournament, and hopefully kind of build on maybe some of the success they can have here this week?
Yeah, I definitely think the answer to that off the bat is just yes. Georgia, if they can, play Alabama at home or go on the road to another SEC school and win by double digits, I mean, that's pretty dang impressive when it comes down to what you've looked at in terms of Georgia this season. But we talked about this a few weeks ago, Aaron, here on the Pit. It was the fact that Georgia, again, as you alluded to, so inconsistent. It's either you're getting 100% or you're getting 50 or less, because there is just no in between, it seems like, with this ball team. But in terms of March Madness, obviously a couple wins here in the SEC tournament would go a long way for getting a little bit of iron on them and sharpen that iron for the skill sets for their starting five. But when you get to the March Madness tournament, we could be talking about facing another Power 4 school, or they could be facing one of these mid-major programs that's coming off of an automatic bid. So it's always just a luck of the draw thing. But I think regardless of who they're matched up against, we're probably going to see them, I would believe, at around the 9 seed in the projected tournament rankings right now. So I definitely think Georgia could win a tournament game or two if they get the right matchups in front of them.
Well, one team that won't have to worry about winning tournament games is Georgia Tech. Damon Stoudamire announced over the weekend that he was let go, fired. Just one win on the road this year for Tech. They had, I think it's 42 and 55 overall since he's arrived there. And I want to ask you guys your thoughts on him and what went wrong. But I want to kind of point back to when they first hired him. This is a guy that only had one really winning season at Pacific. It wasn't like he came in with this high pedigree of coaching relevancy. Was it the right hire? I know it's hindsight's 2020, but also, do we give too much credit to former players that we might think are going to have success on the sidelines? And Joseph, I'll let you run with this one first.
Well, I know that from a personal experience, Aaron. That's because my Alabama Crimson Tide hired Avery Johnson to be the head coach many years ago, and that didn't work out very well for us. So I definitely agree with that point. Sometimes it's a little bit of a, Hail Mary hiring a former ball player to come coach on the sidelines, as we saw with Stoudamire 3 years at Georgia Tech this season. All you have to do is just pull up the win-loss column to see what went wrong. 10-5 through their first 15 games, losing 16 out of their last 18, including a 12-game losing streak to close out the regular season. So I don't think the Tech basketball program is necessarily going to miss that production, but it was not shocking news to see in the slightest. I think you got to go back to the drawing board if you're Tech. They haven't been to the tournament since 2021. Their last ACC, I don't know what their deepest ACC run has been in recent memory, but I can't imagine it hasn't been that great because of the production that we've seen over the last couple of years. So I think the Yellow Jackets really got to get this one right on the next hire.
Yeah, long gone are the days of, the Jared Jack Final Four runs and stuff like that. Drew, your thoughts on Stoudamire and maybe where Georgia Tech can go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a telltale sign in your third year. You're losing your last 12 games of the season, and especially in a conference that is so competitive like the ACC. You got to have those wins, and you got to be able to build that landscape. Look, it takes some time to build a program back up, but with the new AD coming in, I think, hey, like baseball's doing really well. They're all in on football. We got to turn this thing around in basketball too. I think it's the right move, and like you mentioned, Joe, like the old player coming back thing, like it's great, but it usually doesn't always work, especially a guy that was more of an assistant at the NBA level. I think it was for them, it was like, hey, like we can bank on this and this could be a huge turnaround for us. I think they got to go for a mid-major coach that's had a lot of success. Hearing some rumors about the Troy head coach potentially being in the running for that Georgia Tech job, but we'll see. But they got to get it right, and they got to be able to turn it around, because in the ACC, with all these great teams like Duke, UNC, Clemson that have been really good over the past couple years, you got to turn this thing and get a coach who knows about winning consistently to build that foundation.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes to recruiting, and guys think that former players have an advantage trying to recruit guys because they know what the NBA is like. Obviously, it didn't work out there. We'll see where Georgia Tech goes from here. All right, stick with us. Coming up after the break, we're going to do some quick hit stuff, talk about a number of topics across the sports landscape. Stay with us. Welcome back into the pit. All right, we're going to do some quick hit stuff here, guys. I'm going to start with you, Joseph. Jonathan Kuminga, Atlanta Hawks been playing well. Thoughts on Kuminga with the Hawks, and can the Hawks get to the 6th seed?
Yes, and yes. And how funny is it for the Golden State Warriors? What do you think they're feeling right now, letting him go over to Atlanta and just start balling out here for the Hawks as of late, getting them into this late postseason push, hopefully not going to be in the play-in tournament this year, and getting into a solidified 6 or better seed. So I definitely think Kuminga is the piece that Atlanta needed to make it.
Drew, I'll ask you, do you think that the Hawks can win a playoff series?
Win one is tough. I mean, it kind of depends how this playoff all shakes out with the seed, but I like how they're rolling right now. Hawks are soaring. Kuminga averaging like 22 a game. If they can keep this going, I think they can win a playoff game and hopefully rep the A.
All right, we talked about NFL free agency opening up today. So far, a lot of signings. I'm going to ask you guys, favorite signing, Drew, go.
I'm a Giants fan, so I got to go with Isaiah Likely. Bring that tight end over into New York. Big guy. I love it. I think he's like the third highest paid tight end now. Love that signing.
I like it. I'm a Cowboys fan. Forget the signings. I like the trade for Rashawn Gary. How about you, Joseph? Favorite signing?
I think the favorite signing so far is an obvious one. It's Malik Willis to the Dolphins. That's a guy who's sat in Green Bay for several years and has had to sit back there after leaving Tennessee after he got drafted. So he's excelled, and when he's had to step in the Lambeau Field situations, and getting the bag down in Miami is definitely well-deserved for Malik.
All right, World Baseball Classic over the weekend. Final thoughts, Braves Ozzie Albies first walk-off homer ever in the World Baseball Classic. Do you guys watch? Are you excited about it? And how far does the USA go, Drew?
Oh, USA's going to the championship game. I love it. It brings extra juice to baseball. Great lead-in to the regular season. Let's go US. Aaron Judge, that's my guy. I'm a Yankee fan. Hopefully they can lead him all the way.
Bringing all the New York juices. Joseph, what about you?
As a Braves fan, I was so excited to see Albies' walk-off home run, and I do think Team USA will be making it to the finals. The World Baseball Classic is awesome. It's like getting to watch Olympic hockey a few weekends ago when the U.S. won gold. You come right back into the season, and we're getting the World Baseball Classic right now in spring training leading into the regular season. So gets you amped up. It puts everybody on the global stage, and it really just adds an extra fuel to the fire of baseball, and I love it. It's so much fun to watch out there.
Give me a USA Dominican championship game, and I'm taking the USA. That does it for this episode of The Pit. Thank you for joining us. We hope you guys have a great Monday night.